Chapter 1. The Old Frequency. Principle. Your old frequency will forever be the only thing that holds you back from your new frequency, and, as a result, your new reality. The moment you begin the journey of creating your desired reality, you threaten the existence of something you never knew existed, and that is your old frequency. Your old frequency is a living entity with its own psychology and its own goals. So long as you are unaware of how it thinks, you will always be a step behind it, unconsciously driven towards its goals without realizing. Its only goal is to keep you within the old reality, the one that you are seeking to escape. All those times when it felt like your life was spiraling out of control, it was always in your control, but unfortunately in the control of your old frequency. Before we dive into the psychology and the goals of the old frequency, it's important you understand how it came into existence. The easiest way to think about your old frequency is as your doppelganger existing on the spiritual plane. An identical version of you, with all your memories, all your beliefs, all your experiences, all your feelings, just with its own version of your memories, its own version of your beliefs, its own version of your experiences, and its own version of your feelings. It doesn't exist physically as you do, because it resides in the spiritual plane, hence why it has the ability to affect your reality, because before anything can exist physically, it must exist vibrationally. Unfortunately, since to the ego anything that cannot be seen does not exist, the old frequency often damages your reality without you ever even knowing. It is created out of what is called thought forms. The easiest way to conceptualize thought forms is to see them as stones representing mental and emotional energy. Imagine that every time you repeat a particular line of thinking or feel a particular emotion, a stone is placed on the ground, forming a pile. Studies have shown the average person has anywhere from 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Over time, those piles turn into mountains. Every repeated thought and emotion are a building block in the creation of an entity that will seek to exist based on what it was made from. A couple of examples should highlight this more clearly. Take the person who repeatedly complains they are unlucky. Life doesn't go their way, and they think to themselves, "Why me? Why always me?" Note that the idea of life not going your way is an illusion. Life is always going your way. You're just unaware of your path. This repeated mental and emotional energy creates an entity. Guess what that entity's goal is? To make them unlucky. It's natural for us to wonder why the mind would do this. Does it hate me? Why is it trying to ruin my life? The entities we create are like giving birth to a blind intelligence. It is made by us and becomes addicted to the thoughts and emotions it is breastfed. In the instance of the unlucky individual, the emotions that made and breastfed the entity were frustration, irritation, anger, apathy, sadness, and depletion. The entity is like a spiritual parasite. It sustains itself by feeding off the emotions that created it, so it will sway the events of your reality to generate those emotions within you, even if this leads to your own destruction. It's important not to become annoyed by the entity. After all, it is of your own making and is blindly operating from the intelligence given to it by you. What the mind has done, it can undo, no matter the reality. Within this third-dimensional realm, we are subject to the law of polarity, the concept that everything exists has its energetic opposite. Here are some of the most common examples: masculine, feminine, negative, positive, rich, poor, lucky, unlucky. If someone can create negative entities that contradict their desired reality, they can just as easily create positive entities that contribute towards their desired reality. Some people are regarded as lucky. Life always seems to bend to their will, and things always goes right for them. These individuals simply exist with an entity that seeks to keep them lucky and feeds off their joy, happiness, and amazement. A close friend of mine, who grew up believing she wasn't good-looking, eventually decided to see herself as the most beautiful woman ever. Now, wherever she goes, men are constantly chasing her, approaching her, and eager to do anything for her. Whether she realizes it or not, she's created an energetic presence, an entity that influences how others perceive her. This entity is sustained by the thoughts and emotions she holds about herself, and in turn, it reflects those beliefs back through the way others respond to her. As you go through life, you're going to have many different phases, and in every one, an entity is created that will seek to maintain that phase. If you're financially struggling, there is an entity that seeks to maintain that. If you're in a bad relationship, there is an entity that seeks to maintain that. If you're unfit, there is an entity that seeks to maintain that. The old frequency is directly connected with the old version of you, which is directly connected with the old reality, the very one you're trying to escape. Until you know how your old frequency thinks, you will be a step behind it every time without ever knowing why. Understanding its aim is imperative. The goal of the old frequency is simple, and that is to exist. The old version of you will stop at nothing, even if it means your destruction and total misery, to shift from the spiritual to material. Ultimately, like other spirits or entities, it wants to become one with your reality. I can't emphasize this enough. It will do whatever takes. Now we have defined its aim, let's shift our focus to its psychology, which has 4 main characteristics. These qualities are nothing more than a humanistic conceptualization meant to provide a more relatable, simple understanding. First, needy. To put it quite simply, the old version of you is an attention seeker. It is desperate for your attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. If the old version of you can capture your attention, even if only temporarily, it has opened the door to get back in. Concentration precedes vibration. Vibration precedes frequency, and frequency precedes reality. Through your attention, it can nourish itself. Focus is a centralization of energy, and the old version of you knows this, so it will sway events, circumstances, conditions, and even people in your reality to reflect the old reality, all to get you to redirect your energy towards it, specifically your emotional energy. Emotion is energy, so it'll always seek to extract it in a manner reflective of what you've got it accustomed to. The old frequency must feed, and it will do so at any cost. It is needy because it's been with you during all the low moments of your life, whether you knew it or not. Even though it was feeding off you, it is the best friend that occasionally ruins your life. Second, sadistic. The old version of you is a sadist. It loves pain, sadness, frustration, irritation, and annoyance, because that's the energy it feeds off. It rejoices in your suffering and all the very emotions you're attempting to leave behind. It's likely that during times of adversity, these are the predominant emotions occupying you, which are like a drug to the old frequency. It sustains itself with them. Remember, too, that emotions act as a glue that sticks you to the old frequency, ultimately binding you to your old reality. The old version of you is you, so it knows exactly which buttons to press to trigger the emotions it craves. The moment you start feeling too calm, too peaceful, or begin shifting toward a new reality, that's when it strikes. It's not random, it's a calculated pullback, designed to stir up the most emotional resistance possible and keep you anchored in the familiar, so the idea of change seems like a hopeless dream. 3. Scared. The old version of you likes existing, so the thought of not existing frightens it, and ultimately, this is the beginning of a trap which captures many of us. Sensing its own potential extinction, the old version of you will project its fear onto you the moment you begin striving for more or moving in a new direction. As you shift into the frequency of your desired reality, it attempts to make you unconsciously associate that change with fear, so you'll hesitate, retreat, or self-sabotage. It's a defense mechanism designed to keep you tethered to the familiar and prevent your evolution into a better reality. It also knows that once you feel fear, it's only a matter of time before that fear begins to negatively alter your frequency, since fear is nothing more than ignorant faith, which then eventually alters your reality. Fear is like a guiding light for what you don't want to navigate the universe so it can find you. Due to the emotional strength of fear, it ultimately overshadows the frequency sent out for your desired reality, taking over to manifest the worst. That fear of change is not yours. It belongs to the old frequency, which tricks you into thinking it's yours so you don't move forward. 4. Reactive. The old version of you is extremely reactive, but the irony is that it is reactive to its own creation. Once again, this is the beginning of a very dangerous but calculated cycle. Since the old version of you is in opposition to the creation of your desired reality, it will cause adversity in your reality while also short-circuiting your thinking to shut down the potential of any higher levels of awareness, which is seeing reality clearly beyond illusion. It ultimately doesn't want you to be aware of the true nature of reality and what is going on. It wants you to be caught up in the whirlwind of chaos so you never become aware, because all transmutation first begins with awareness. It'll project its tendency to quickly react to circumstances, conditions, events, and people, so there is no time for awareness, so there is no transmutation. It's important to note that emotion is the most powerful energy source in the universe, and so the old version will seek an emotional reaction from you. That is all it wants. Every time you emotionally react, you are strengthening and reinforcing the old frequency. Emotion is a supercharger of frequency, and so you are supercharging the old reality. Always remember, on the car journey to your desired reality, emotionally reacting to the old version of you, and ultimately, the old reality, will take you on a detour back to it. Practical. Awareness is the only way you'll escape the clutches of your old frequency. The moment you are aware, a pathway that was once hidden opens itself up, giving you the option to live by design instead of default. Within the adversity that reality presents to you, there is a choice, and that is to live by default or design. Default pertains to the old frequency that expects you to react. Reacting to reality will always lead to the old frequency. Design pertains to the new frequency that expects you to respond. Responding to reality will always lead to the new frequency. The difference between reacting and responding is life and death. Reacting is death, and responding is life. To rise to your desired reality, you must rise above reaction into response. Let's examine how the old frequency perceives reacting. Reacting is to allow the external nature of reality to imbalance your internal state. You've been wired to think that you react to reality, but the truth is reality reacts to you. The internal is a reflector. So, ironically, once it is swayed, it will lead to the swaying of the external, and this is the beginning of a cycle in which too many are trapped. To simplify the point being made here, an imbalance of the internal creates everything you don't like. By responding instead of reacting, you allow your internal state to balance the external nature of reality. Internal balance ultimately leads to a balanced reality no matter what is presented. Responding is simply the act of viewing your current adversity through the lens of your desired reality, reframing the situation to be in alignment with where you're going, not where you are. How would the version of you in your desired reality look at this? How would the version of you in your desired reality feel about this? How would the version of you in your desired reality think about this? If you can keep those questions at the top of your mind while experiencing adversity, the blur on your lenses caused by that chaos will begin to clear.